Let's go across to Professor Brahma Chellaney. He's joining us now. This is happening on the 75th year of Indo-China relationships. This is the first time that the Mansarovar route has been opened. The Chinese delegation is actually invited media also to travel with the first batch of people. Professor Brahma Chellaney, how would you read this? Namaste, sir. Thank you for your time.
Anand, we should not forget that China and Pakistan share an interest in containing India. The maxim, my enemy's enemy is my friend, unites China and Pakistan. And for Beijing, the appeal of working with Pakistan is heightened by its ability to treat Pakistan as a client rather than as an actual partner. And we saw the kind of assistance China lends to Pakistan when India launched Operation Sindoor. China even retasked its satellites to cover Indian military sites so that Pakistan could target them. And it provided Pakistan, during India's Operation Sindoor, real-time satellite reconnaissance data. So it was an indirect party, a third party in the conflict, providing active military assistance to Pakistan during the military hostilities. And we have seen over the years, for example, how China has shielded Pakistan's export of terrorism. It has time and again blocked or held up the UN's designation of major Pakistani killers as global terrorists. And just last month, the US Defense Intelligence Report identified China as the main supplier of assistance to Pakistan's weapons of mass destruction programs. And lastly, we should not forget that despite this so-called thaw between India and China, China is still sitting on the borderlands in Ladakh that it occupied by stealth in April, May of 2020. So all this pretense that China is taking a more nuanced stance does not mesh with actual facts on the ground. The China-Pakistan strategic nexus will not loosen simply because for China, using Pakistan against India is a cost-effective strategy. It's a strategy that they have pursued for decades. There's no reason for China to abandon that strategy because India is not imposing any costs on China. For example, China is having its cake and eating it too. It's able to increase its yearly trade surplus with India while it continues to contain India. So why will China change its strategy?
Right. Right. So what should Bharat do? What should be Raksha Mantri's position? What do you think Ajit Doval would have conveyed? What's the significance of this move here? And the fact that China remained silent when Mr. Doval named Lashkar and Jaish. In the past, this has not been allowed. This has somewhere been smoothed over by the Chinese. They blocked it. So how do you read that?
Anand, China was the host. It doesn't have to rebut what the Indian NSA said about Pakistan's role. Why would China intervene and just on its own rebut what India's NSA said about Pakistan and its involvement in cross-border terrorism? It wisely decided not to intervene. But look at imagine a situation where roles were reversed.
Correct.
China was in India's place, and India was in China's place, and India was containing China, was building a super dam on China's border, was providing assistance to a third country to contain China. How would China have reacted? Would have reacted very sharply and on a continuing basis.
Right.
But look at India's response. We are allowing China to continue to expand its bilateral trade surplus. The bilateral trade surplus of China with India is now larger than India's total defense budget. In other words, we are subsidizing China's containment of India. Similarly, by building a super dam right on India's border, China is creating a ticking water bomb because they are building the super dam, the largest dam ever conceived in history, in a seismically active area, an area that is prone to earthquakes. And the recent Myanmar earthquake was an example of how this area sits on a geological fault line where the Indian plate collides with the Eurasian plate, and that's how the Myanmar earthquake was triggered. And yet they are building that super dam right there, and we haven't spoken up, other than issuing one statement of concern.
Correct.
But had China been in India's place, it would have, on a continuing basis, tried to shame India. It would have internationalized this issue. It would have gone to town about this and other things that India is now seeing in relation to what China is doing. So I don't think we should take small little things like China not rebutting what Ajit Doval said as indicative of a change in either China's mindset or its actual policy.
Right.
That change, I think, is going to be not coming anytime because Pakistan is a very useful client for China, very useful client, an obedient client.
And they're far more deeply embedded there strategically also, and for their own needs. Professor Brahma Chellaney, I've run out of time. Thank you so much for your time, sir. Thank you.